Hello, everybody. Welcome back to On the Wagon. I am Corey Mason. Today's episode, I got to interview my really good friend and brother in sobriety and metal detecting Charles Schaeffer. Give it a listen and hope you enjoy. What's going on, Charles? Man, thanks so freaking much for coming on, dude. I wanted to ask you about doing this for a while. For a while, ever since I started thinking of doing a podcast. But I mean, how do you ask someone like, "Hey, man, will you come on my podcast?" You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Sometimes it's like, I don't want to ask because I don't want you to feel bad to say no or feel like you have to say yes. So when you reached out to me, I'm like, hell yeah, man! Like,
yeah.
you're
Well,
definitely yeah, you're
I
definitely one of the
appreciate.
guys I've always had in mind. Like when I first found out that you were going through it too, um, all but like 3 months ahead of me, which is even better. Like you're like a few steps ahead of me, and I can really like ride your coattails if that
Yeah,
makes
yeah.
sense. It really helps
Well,
me out. So
yeah, I appreciate you bringing me on. When we talked, I didn't know you were going to do a podcast, and when I heard about it, I was kind of hoping maybe you could reach out because I feel like finally I can help other people. You know,
yeah, that's awesome. Good.
so I appreciate you bringing me on here and giving me this opportunity. I look at it as an opportunity. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, if you hear that rumbling in the background, that's the wind howling right out the window
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
It's pretty
Hey,
nasty
same,
up here on the hill.
same here, man. 1970s windows.
Oh, gotta love it,
They'll
man.
be whistling.
Nice. For everyone who doesn't know Charles, really good friend of mine. I met you, what, maybe 2 years ago, year and a half, 2 years ago,
Yeah.
when I started getting into metal detecting as one of my hobbies. Um, Weird enough, like we'll speak about hobbies then. But I started metal detecting when I was still drinking.
Hmm.
Um, and today, oh, by the way, also today is my 1 year sobriety anniversary. Like today
Awesome,
is
man. Woo!
it. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
That's awesome. It's
Yeah,
such a great feeling too.
it really is. It really
Hit that
is.
milestone.
Absolutely. But so I met you through metal detecting, through a lot mutual friends, and yeah, dude, I mean, we've been pretty close metal detecting wise and friend wise since then. So yeah, like I said before, I didn't know you were sober until a little bit into into our friendship, and then once I found that out, I think I found out when I came out as like I'm done drinking. You're like, oh, by the way, dude, if you ever need someone to talk to, I'm on the
Yeah,
same journey. All but
yeah,
like 3 months ahead of you. I was like, get out of here, dude. Cool.
yeah.
So, everybody, Charles Schaefer.
Oh, thank you.
Um,
Yeah, it's um, I just kind of, I'll touch base on where it all began. I feel like sometimes that's important.
for sure. Yep.
People. But if you don't mind me sharing a little bit of my story,
No, please do, man. Share everything that you're comfortable sharing.
yeah, I'll just try to touch on some things because it's a very long story, but so I would say is the beginning of drinking for me is maybe a pretty common one. I just as a kid I wanted to fit in, you know, so I grew up around adults that were drinking and stuff, and when you see something like that as a kid, you start to think it's kind of normal. You know what I mean?
For sure. Yep. I hear
And
that
then
100%.
when you feel not noticed, on top of it, it's even something else. So when I was about 8 years old, um, was when I actually had my first sip. Um, Adults were having a party, and I'm running around with my neighborhood friends, and it was an outside party, and there were coolers, off to the side, and it was like, hey, let's go check it out. So when the sun went down, it was a little easier to sneak over to the cooler and pop open, take a couple.
Oh,
So
for
they
sure.
they were small little pony bottles of Rolling Rock,
Oh,
So
Rolling
we
Rock, huh?
grabbed a few of those, ran off into the woods, popped them open, and of course they were disgusting. You
Oh
know,
yeah, for
you're like,
sure.
ugh, but everybody else is doing it. So that was kind of my first sip, actually at 8 years old. Um, and then, I remember, having a few and just feeling real silly and, numbed out. Um, so being that I kind of grew up in a broken home, that feeling was a great feeling to me, to not
Mm-hmm.
feel, to not feel. So um, I found something that kind of eased the pain a little bit. So that started my journey in drinking. Of course, I wasn't drinking heavily at 8 years old, but that was just the intro. And
For
then
sure. Yeah.
as I got older, I kept dabbling with it, Um, and then two of my close friends, their dad was a drinker. And he always had it around. So, it was easy to take a few here and there, but it progressed over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, I turned into a weekend warrior,
Yep.
and then after that, it just started, once or twice during the week. And then, of course, towards the end, it was almost every day, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So there for a long time, you kind of tell your, it's confusing when you're the drinker and you're thinking, well, where do you come to a point where you say, well, this is a problem? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I definitely know
So
what you mean. Or
so
it's a problem, but you're just like, oh, whatever. It's a problem. I'll deal with it at some other point. I'm good now, though.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you kind
Now,
of talk yourself into it. At least I did.
yeah, for me, of course, alcohol brought on a lot of trouble,
Mm-hmm.
So, and unfortunately, I had to learn the hard way. I didn't, it's like sticking a butter knife in a toaster. You know, you don't like to get shocked, but let's try it again.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, it's over the years, it's just mounding up all the trouble I got into, and the all the stuff that comes with it. It was finally like I got to make a change.
Right.
I got to try to. I've tried to quit a few times before, and I only made it a few months.
Mm-hmm.
So it's and tomorrow it's I take this one day at a time because tomorrow I can't think that far ahead. You know, I gotta be in the moment today. Because if I think, man, I gotta be sober for the next, 50 years, that's
Yeah,
overwhelming.
it's a long time. I'm glad you said that because I feel the same way. Like I tell myself, I'm like, they're like, well, like I'll get asked honestly, are you done drinking forever? And I'm like, number one, how do you ask somebody if they're done drinking forever? Like, you know what I mean? That's like
Yeah,
asking somebody, are you done having cancer forever?
yeah, yeah, right.
Like, dude, I hope so. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like, no, I'm done for now. Like, I'm good where I'm at now. I'm super happy now. I don't drink now.
yeah,
The future's the future. I'll deal with it when I get to that point. But yeah, I'm
hmm
done drinking for the foreseeable future, at least.
yeah, yeah,
So, I mean, that's normally my answer. It goes right along with yours, like one day at a time. Like,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
now. I don't drink now.
I'm glad you mentioned it in that way because as far as I've known, is alcoholism is a disease. It's a sickness. And that also can play into friends and family of an alcoholic.
Hmm.
Um, I've gone in. I've been in AA meetings, obviously, but I've also by accidentally went to Al-Anon meetings, which was a good. It was a good mistake because I got to
Sure.
sit in with people that are on the outside looking in at an alcoholic, you know?
Right. Yeah. Get their perspective on it.
Yeah. And
Yeah, that would be interesting to attend, I think.
it was, I actually went to go to a meeting that I thought was AA, and I went in, I sat down, and I'm like, the atmosphere is a little bit different,
Oh
you
yeah.
know. I'm sitting there, and then they're like, welcome to Al-Anon, and I'm like,
Okay.
okay, and
Okay.
they
It
look,
is different.
yeah, and they looked at me, and they're like, you're not in the right place, are you? I said, no, but you know what? Do you mind if I stay? And they said, no, no. So I wanted that perspective because I didn't get a lot of opportunity to step outside of myself
Hmm.
as a friend or family to look at myself,
Right.
So um, when I started, understanding it better, it helped me change, as well, because it's like it's easy for friends and family to look at a drinker and be upset about them, and disgusted about behaviors or whatever
Yep.
until they understand that it is a disease, that it's something that you carry with you every day, and you got to fight this every single minute,
Yep. Hmm.
Um, so to have that outside perspective, it also made me realize even more how my family was feeling. And I say what I've put them through.
Hmm.
That's kind of tough for me to say it in that way because I never purposely wanted to put them through things.
Yeah. I
It's
guess we
just
never do we?
yeah, it's just that I was struggling,
Yep.
Um, so I try not to, beat myself up over it, and say, hey, I dragged my family through the coals and this and that. And it's, that's never going to help. So I just kind of, I asked for forgiveness, and they've always stood by me, and they've supported me through everything, even getting sober. So,
Good, man.
we,
That's huge.
yeah.
That
So
is
we all,
huge.
we all make, mistakes and fight diseases and stuff. So, but we're here now, we're fighting, and I finally have the opportunity to speak from a sober mind, So
Yeah, it's pretty awesome, isn't it?
yeah,
It feels great. I mean, um, I, I would assume you experience this too. I'd say maybe once I came to the realization, which would be this day a year ago when I woke up, that like I'm done. It was. I don't want to sound corny and say it was like a religious experience, but it really was. It was like a spiritual awakening for me, like a self awakening,
yeah,
because I finally you can't really stop drinking for other people. You have to stop drinking for yourself, regardless of, like you said, dragging family through it. Like I think I talked about, yeah, I talked about it in my last episode, which would have been last night a year ago, the last night that I drank, and what I did and what I put those that I love, those around me that I love through.
yeah,
Um, but when I finally said, like, dude, I'm done, like, and I meant it, and I knew I meant it. It was like a huge weight off my shoulders, a spiritual awakening. And I mean, after you get through the fog of the first few days and you're like, the train starts moving,
yeah,
dude, like I was a new man. Like all my energy started coming back. I
hmm,
started like getting into things that, I like my passions from the past, like flying. I started looking into flying again. Metal detecting took a new turn. Like I'm like, all right, like I'm of sound mind. I can actually like really dig into this. No,
yeah,
well, yeah, pun intended. Dig into it.
yeah,
Um, Started getting into woodworking because I always wanted to have a lathe, but I always made an excuse not to get one. Well, now
yeah,
that I wasn't spending money on alcohol, I had all kinds of money, and I
yeah,
was like, well, I'm gonna go buy a lathe, and I did. Started turning wood, and it's freaking awesome. I love it.
yeah.
Um,
It's amazing how much cash appears in your wallet when you quit drinking.
how about it? How about it? Like, so I have a I'm gonna call it an allowance. It's an adult allowance. So
Yeah.
Lindsay and I have, a joint account, checking, savings, and all that. Um, but early on, we set up, like, I kept my military bank account, my USAA account, just
Yeah.
because it's something you have and it's, good to have. I'm like, well, I kind of want like money, like funny money, so I'm not raiding. Well, one, I was still drinking at the time when we set it up, so I didn't want to
Yeah.
raid the checking account. And I mean, that's a telltale sign. Like, Corey, why is the liquor store on here 3 times today? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I originally set up an allowance of like $200 a month that I kept in my funny money account, and that's usually what I use to drink. So once I
Yeah.
stopped drinking, I always had that money there, and which would carry into the next month. I'm like, oh my god, like I can go out and get cool things, like
Yeah. Yeah.
useful things.
Mm.
So it was pretty neat.
Yeah,
Um,
if you
Go ahead.
don't mind, I'm going to touch on what you said.
For sure, please do.
Kind of, you opened it up for me. The spiritual experience, and I'm going to talk about metal detecting too, because that's a big part of my life. Right at the end, the last time I decided I'm done drinking. Um, so I put the bottle down, and literally within, I'd say, a couple weeks, I went out and I was like really gung ho this time. It was like,
Hmm.
I every time I always say every time you fall down, you should be defined by falling down and failing. It's how quick you get back up and you keep
100%.
going. You know. So I actually got sober for about 5 months, picked back up only for about a month, which is actually a short time because the last time I picked up, there went 7 whole years.
Yeah,
Um, so that's how powerful it is. If you pick back up, they always say you never know when you're going to put back down. And
yeah,
that's
right.
true. It was like I almost had a year, many years ago, I had 11 months. And then I picked back up, and there went 7 more years of my life. And then
Wow.
I sobered up again for 5 months, picked back up for 1 month, and jumped back on. And I said, you know what? I got to get back to being sober again. And the
Yep.
last time, um, you know, 15 months ago or so. So I went metal detecting 2 weeks into it with my brother, and I'm big on things happen for a reason and there's signs and everything in life. That day I dug an 1800s Serenity Prayer medallion,
Oh wow.
and the hairs stood up on my arm that day.
Yeah, I just got chills.
You know, I brought this. The reason I knew it was 1800s is because it was written in a different way than it is today. The
Like
Serenity Prayer.
ye old or whatever,
Yeah,
however
yeah.
they talk. Yeah.
So I dug it up. I'm cleaning it up, and my brother's there. My brother has always wanted me to be sober, and
Hmm.
he always tried to help me. He was a great role model for me, but I never listened. But anyway, that day we dug this thing up. I'm cleaning it off, and I'm like, wow, it's the Serenity Prayer. And he goes, if that's not a sign, I don't know what is, you know.
Dude, that's awesome.
And I cleaned it up, and I put a hook on it, and I have it on my keys, And I just feel like stuff like that happens for a reason, and there's a sign and there's a message there. However, anyone wants to look at it, you can look at it, call it a higher power, um, and that was a spiritual experience there. Um, but and the biggest thing too, like you're mentioning hobbies and stuff. One sometimes one word can change how you look at something, and one word hit me like a ton of bricks when I got sober this time, and the word is potential.
Nice.
Um, when I think about all the potential that I have, that when I was drinking, it got kind of taken away, on the back burner.
Hmm.
Um, the potential to be a better father, a better brother, a better coworker. It's amazing that when I got sober and I kept, getting time, the further I got along, the more potential started coming back. The my everything is so much better. You know, I get so much more done. I'm more productive and on point at work. Um, I've always been good at my job, but now I'm, I'm just so sharp. You feel a lot more sharp. Your mind is working better. Everything is just, your body. I used to feel real tired all the time, hung over, and now it's like it's an amazing feeling to be
Yep.
sober and to do hob. Luckily I never associated drinking with metal detecting, so metal detecting actually helped me um, stay sober.
Good.
If you can
Awesome.
find something that you don't associate drinking with, or find a new hobby,
Hmm.
express everything and put your potential into it, you're
Yep.
gonna you're gonna be amazed.
Yep. And that was another one of my issues. I associated drinking with everything. You know, going to a wedding, that was a big drink fest. Do they have an open bar? Yes, awesome. Do they have an open bar? No. Oh, dude, do we even have to go? Like, man,
Hmm.
we're gonna spend a lot of money drinking. Of course, you can't fly airplanes drinking. I That's one thing I honestly never even tried or
Yeah,
would
yeah,
try. Um, but yeah, like it's weird that when you're in whatever you want to call it, when you're in the fog,
yeah.
um, everything has to do with drinking.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's great you brought that up too, because last night I had a work party, and when we're driving there, I'm in the car with my girlfriend, and I said, I used to have to drink to go to these things.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Like,
Pre-game before you get there and
oh
everything.
yeah, and I'm like, most of that is because I have anxiety too, so
Yeah, it turns out I do too. Now that I
yeah,
don't drink, I'm like, oh, okay.
I feel like there is a big connection between substances and feeling anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Because I used to feel a lot more anxiety when I was drinking, and I'd be hungover or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The further I get into my sobriety, the less anxiety I'm starting to feel too. It was a little raw in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm still trying to learn how to live sober. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
it's I think that's a never-ending thing. I think it's a
yeah.
not in
So
a bad way either.
yeah. So I would say in the past couple months, like early on in my sobriety, I didn't even put myself in these difficult situations. I knew that I wasn't going to go to this restaurant that had a bar sitting, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But in the last few months now that I'm over a year, I finally went to my first concert ever and didn't have a drink there, and
Awesome.
completely sober. And guess what? It's the first concert I remember.
It's freaking blast, wasn't it?
You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
and I think about that too. I've
Yep.
been going to concerts ever since I've been 18.
Yep. Same.
I've been trashed for all of them.
Oh yeah.
I went and seen some of my favorite bands, but I can't remember it.
Yep.
So we just went and seen the Red Hot Chili Peppers in Philadelphia. It was my
Nice.
first time completely sober. It was a little nerve wracking at first though.
Yeah.
'Cause,
Yeah.
I'm sitting in the middle of like, I don't know, 40, 50,000 people, and I'm like,
Oh yeah.
you know,
Oh
but
yeah.
as the night went on and, they came on stage, it felt amazing that I was so in tune with, everything that was going on.
Yeah, I can totally relate with that. I've started going to see Dead and Company concerts. And of course, I'm not drinking. I've been to two sober now,
Yeah,
or we'll say two alcohol free.
yeah,
Um, and what an experience! Like
yeah,
like you're 100% there. You take it all in, for better or for worse,
yeah, yeah,
and dude, it's just it's a new world. Like
Yeah,
literally, it's a new world, and it's awesome. It's so much
yeah,
brighter.
yeah. That and back to the work party thing. I was like, I could never go to these events sober before. I've always felt like I had to get a couple in my system just to feel okay enough to be in that atmosphere.
For sure. Yep.
And and then also it's shocking because when you see certain people that knew you drank and then all of a sudden you're not drinking, they're like, aren't you gonna get a beer? And I'm like, no, I'm cool with a
Yeah.
coffee, I'm cool with a water.
Yep.
And they're like, seriously? I'm like, yeah. But
Yeah, I've gotten a few of those looks and remarks.
yeah. um yeah, I kind of kept myself out of those areas initially. I mean, I'm not putting myself in those,
Hmm.
what I would consider tempting situations.
Hmm.
If I can control it, or I don't feel well enough, I won't even go. You know, if I don't
Good.
feel, and I even said to my friends, because every so often, I'll still get together with my friends. We'll
Yep.
shoot a game of pool here and there. And I told them flat out, I said, look, if I start to feel a little uncomfortable, I'm just going to head out. Don't take
Right.
offense to it. I got to protect me first,
Yeah.
and that's part of being alcohol free and trying to better your life, is that you have to put yourself first, because if you don't, you you're no good to anything else. You know what I mean? You you know
100%.
you you are the foundation. So you have to come first, and that's another thing I started doing was, the term is self-love. You
Hmm.
know, I've neglected myself too all these years. Not only did I neglect my friends, family, work, everything myself, now it's time to take care of me so I can be there for my family, and be, without keeping myself straight, I have nothing to offer. You know what I mean?
Yep. You got to start with number one, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I can't say enough about every day that I'm sober, all the wonderful things that I see come my way, and just how people see me shining, and it's like, they say something, and I'm like, really? Okay, that's
Yeah.
awesome. It's
It comes down to even something small like, so I have blue eyes, right?
hmm
And um, when I was younger, like high school, my eyes were like my oldest son's eyes. He has my old blue eyes. I mean, they just his eyes beam blue. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
And I used to have eyes like that. I was kind of pretty pumped about them. Like, yeah, I might not have everything, but I got some really cool blue eyes. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But through the fog of alcohol and drinking every single night, I drank every night. I drank vodka every single night.
yeah,
Sometimes half a bottle, sometimes more.
yeah,
Every single night, I always found a way to drink.
yeah,
But I mean, you could see people. You can see the physical effects, and one of my biggest physical effects, other than being a fatty, is my eyes, man. They just weren't bright. They were just grayish blue.
yeah.
I've noticed since I quit drinking, my eye color is coming back.
Wow.
Like I feel healthier, and I like look wise, I look healthier.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
mean, it's just it, it's literally life changing. I know people say that all the time. It's like a whatever you want to call it, a tag word or whatever, but it literally is life changing. I mean,
oh yeah,
everything
yeah.
has turned around. You brought up work. I've gotten a promotion in the last year since I quit drinking, like
Awesome.
one that I really wanted and was really fighting for, and finally got it now that I'm of clear mind. Like
Yeah,
work
yeah,
noticed, you know what I mean? Um, Everything that goes along with it. It's just my kids are proud of me. My son, my oldest son, said to me, we were down. He's a Marine. So we were down there around the campfire. Of course, I wasn't drinking, and we were just talking at night. And he's like, "Dad, I really got to tell you." He's like, "I kind of hated you for a long time. Like we love each other
yeah,
unconditionally."
Yeah.
But he's like, yeah, you're. I kind of thought of you as like you're kind of a dick, is kind of how he put it to me. Like,
Yeah.
well, shit, dude, that sucks. You know, you don't want your son saying that. He's like, but since you've quit drinking in the last year, he's like, I I am so proud of you, and you are like my best friend again, and I love it. And Dad,
Wow.
seriously, I'm so proud of you. Like I cried.
Yeah.
I
Well,
in
that
front of
puts a
everyone. I was
knot.
like, oh my god,
Yeah, that puts a knot in my throat, man.
yeah,
It's
it's
same with my daughter. It's like that's a clear sign of your progress too. It's
mm-hmm,
like your friends and family, and my daughter, same thing. You know, Unfortunately, I didn't drink around her a lot, but
mm-hmm,
towards the end, I was.
right,
And so she's always on heightened alert. Looking at my cups, and she's like, "Oh, you're
yeah.
still not drinking?" I'm like, "No, still not drinking." And she's like, "I'm proud of you." And
Oh, that's
and you
awesome, man.
can see, the happiness there. You know what I mean? Because
Yes, yep,
it's just, again, I have the potential to be um, more present in her, what she's going through too. Because like back when I drank, I was in such a fog. I
mm-hmm,
like that word because it explains a lot when you're drinking and then the next day you're hungover and then you're drinking
yep,
and you're back, and it's a seesaw and you're never really clear and crisp. So now, of course, I felt bad for not being that aware before, but now I have the opportunity to, you know hey, how you feel, worrying more about, how they're feeling and what I can do to help and everything
mm-hmm,
else. It's like before. And I want to touch on emotions too, because like, again, this could be going down another path, but I feel like a lot of people have this, misconception that, you might be suffering with certain, ADHD or depression or any different emotions, but until you clear out the substances in your system, you don't know exactly where that's coming from. Meaning, I struggled more with my emotions when I was drinking. And even though it seems simple to dissect now, in the moment, you're thinking, well, for myself, I'm just I'm an emotional wreck.
right,
But in my mind, it was like, oh, it has nothing to do with the drinking.
yeah,
But
of
it
course
really,
not,
it had a lot to do with the drinking.
yeah,
I was more edgy, more angry, more emotional. Like, it was a roller coaster. And as far as I know, alcohol is one of the only substances that is a stimulant and a depressant.
yeah,
It is a stimulant, when you're first introducing it to your system, and as the time goes on, it becomes a depressant. So you're constantly up and down, and your emotions are all over the place. So and again, how can I be emotionally mature for my daughter if I can't be it for myself? You know.
well said.
So emotions and potential are like the two key things that I think about throughout this whole journey. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
So
and those are two huge things that I mean that directly relate to your own well-being. I mean, to realize that you have potential. I mean, that's a huge self-reflection. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
oh, I'm really not a shitbag.
yeah,
I do have potential. I do have skills. I am a smart guy. I am likable. People like me for who I am. Well, most people, but
yeah.
can't please
I
them
like
all.
I like you, Corey.
Hey, thanks, brother. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. And I like you too, Charles. Um,
both our beards are looking healthier these
dude, they
days.
are, man. I wish I could have got my camera situated and I would have put this out with the podcast because they are pretty stellar, if I must say so.
I just need a little better light in here.
I still got to work on the mustache thing, get the
Yeah.
curl on the ends, but it'll get there. But yeah, so self reflection, man, potential. For you to bring up potential, and like knowing that you have potential. I mean, that to hear you say that, it makes my heart happy.
Yeah,
To like when you said that, and for me to realize it for myself, if that makes sense, if I'm not blabbering on, I mean, it's just it's huge, man. It really
yeah,
is. Um, so for everyone out there that may be on the fence, like I'm not a preaching guy, you know, I'm not preaching quit drinking. I don't judge you for drinking. I'll still hang out with you when you're drinking. It's you know, that's it's on you. But if
yeah,
like if you're listening to this and you're on the fence, like just realize, man, like there's so much that changes when you don't drink. I know not everyone has a problem drinking. Some people can drink and be fine, and it's normal for them. But obviously, you and I aren't those people, Charles.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so I mean, just guys, realize that it. I hope you take the good out of this conversation. Like this is seriously life changing for us, and I know it can be for a lot of other people.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah. I
I
mean,
forget.
I highly, I highly recommend trying if it's become unmanageable. You know what I mean? Like you talk
Yes,
about drinkers
exactly.
that, I the normal drinkers we call them is like,
Right.
somebody that, and I never understood stood my friends that were like that. They're like, hey, let's go out for a drink, and I'm like,
Yeah.
a drink? I'm like,
Like
that's a
why? That's
waste
a
of money,
waste.
man.
Yeah.
I'd
Waste
rather
of
just get a
time.
lemon water. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Exactly.
if I'm going out to drink, I'm getting drunk. That there was no
Yep.
like one beer or in between. It was like if I'm gonna drink, I'm gonna drink.
Yeah, like sure I
And
enjoyed the taste of a lot of things, but I drank to get drunk. That's why I
yeah,
drank.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, I know a lot of people. Like even like when I got sober, you do run into your friends are real like leery. Like
Mm-hmm.
you will maybe feel a little bit outcasted for a moment just
Mm-hmm.
because most of it's because people are just trying to adjust and are not sure what they can and can't do or say around you and stuff like that. But
And don't want
uh,
to be the person that triggers you kind of deal.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like you, like when I decided I was going to stop drinking and be alcohol free, I told my friends, guys, don't change. You know,
Yeah.
just be you. This is my decision. I love you guys no matter what. This is just me. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And now it's like we don't hang out a lot, but periodically if we do, we'll go shoot pool. They have their
Yep.
drinks. I'm drinking
Sure.
a soda. It's fun, and some of them don't understand yet, but it's not. It's just I say this is my deal, man. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm not judging you. I don't look at you
Yep.
any differently. Um, and everything's back to normal. You know what I mean? It's just that initial, like, oh no, my buddy stopped drinking.
Yeah. We
How are
do
we
now.
going to have fun?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But we have, and then, fun too. I didn't know how I was going to have fun anymore. But now that time's gone on, I've learned how to laugh and have fun again without that. You know what I mean?
Oh
It's
yeah.
like, it's crazy, but it's a little bit of an adjustment for sure, you know.
Right.
But it is amazing to see all the positive that comes along with it. So, um,
Yeah, it is. And the whole fun part, so I think part of, and I know not everyone can do this, but part of the thing that made me successful this time, one, I wanted to do it, like I knew I had to, and it was on me. But two, I sort of turned not drinking into a hobby. So
hmm
I do like the complex cocktails. Like I do like the taste of them, regardless of when I drank. I still like the taste, but I
yeah,
drank to get drunk. It was the
right,
alcohol that messed me up, not the drink, not the flavor. So I started to experiment with like non-alcoholic versions of cocktails. People call them mocktails. Some it drives some people nuts when you say mocktail, but I think it's kind of clever. I don't
yeah,
know. Um, but like there are adult drinks, adult beverages that don't contain alcohol that are still fun to drink.
yeah,
And for me, it's not triggering. I know it would be for some people. not
Yeah.
sure if it would be for you or not, and I'm not even going to ask because that
Yeah.
that's it's your own personal thing. But I
Yeah.
know for me, that has helped me
Yeah.
immensely because I made it fun. It had to be fun for me, and I made it fun. And here I am a year later, and I'm freaking loving it.
Yeah.
I really do. Like I love it. I love not drinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Weirdest thing in the world. Never thought I'd say that.
Yeah. Now, uh, I'm going to ride off what you just said is, I did jump into AA initially. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but how I look at it is not everything is meant for everyone,
Yep.
So if you can find a way to, get sober, be alcohol free, by doing, whatever, something fun or AA or traveling or anything,
Sure.
that's great. Not it. This isn't. We're not cookie cutters. We're human beings. We all have a lot of differences. So for me, though, at the time, I lived completely alone, and I tried to quit before, and it just didn't work those ways. So I was like, you know what? What the heck? Let me give this a try.
Yep.
I was in AA before, but of course I was never serious. I was like, I looked at it as like a cult type thing.
Same.
The
I'm with you on
cliche,
that.
the cliche sayings and this and that, and I'm like, okay, But finally I was like, you know what? I'm sitting in this empty house all by myself. I don't see my kids all the time. I come home, I work hard, I come home, I sit alone. The loneliness is what can get you big time,
Yeah, I agree with
So
that.
I'm trying to, be sober, not drink, and I'm sitting in this empty house all by myself every day, and it's like, you know what? I need something. So I was like, you know what the heck? I'm gonna get into AA. I'm gonna dig in deep. Um, I I can't say that I'm super into it today, but when I started, to get me as far as I am now,
Mm-hmm.
that helped tremendously. I couldn't have done it without it.
And that's huge, man.
But again, there's however it suits the person. I just knew that for myself, sitting in an empty house with no support, I would have went back again. So I needed to get in something. AA was AA is on Zoom now. You can get in there. You can jump in a
Yep.
meeting. You can jump in a meeting that's in Hawaii from your comfort of your own home.
Nice.
It's really easy, um, and it helped me. I got a sponsor, and that was just a big help for me to get past all the struggles, especially when I was sitting here alone. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like it would have been a little bit different if I would have had a wife here or
Mm-hmm.
family around me. Um, but that's what I needed to do to get this far. And I still go to a meeting here and there, but I'm not super saturated with it. Some
Right.
people like to go real far with it.
Yep.
I guess I'm kind of just, I want to keep myself balanced. I feel like if I put too much on my shoulders, I might crack. If I don't put enough, I might crack. So I have to wake up every day and say, how much can I handle mentally to keep myself where I'm at? And if I'm feeling a little bit weak, I have support. I can call somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, which is
Um,
huge.
yeah, but I've been watching you through your mocktail journey, and I've been watching some episodes, and I admire that dedication and a lot of skill involved there. You know what I mean? Like I actually went to school to be a bartender.
Oh,
I'm
no kidding. I didn't know
I'm,
that.
yeah, I'm a certified bartender, but that was another thing. It was like I went to school for bartending at one time, thinking, man, I can't wait to get in that field and
Sure.
make all kinds of money. And then I'm
Yep.
like, and then I got my certificate. I passed the testing at the end and got certified and everything. You had to make like 12 drinks perfectly with the perfect garnishes and everything within like, actually, I think they gave you a maximum of certain amount of minutes. Well, actually,
Yeah.
I broke the school record on how
Nice.
fast I
Nice.
made them and everything. And I'm
No
thinking, oh,
kidding.
this is going to be great. So I got my
Yeah.
certificate, and then I got my certificate, and then I'm like looking around for jobs, and I'm thinking in the back of my head, but I'm an alcoholic.
Oh, yeah.
And I
Yeah.
had fear that I would just drink more if I followed becoming a bartender. So I never became a bartender because of it.
Yeah. Well, I know
So,
I bartended for a while on and off, and yeah, I drank my face off when I bartended. I really did. Especially when, you're allowed to have that free after worker when you're
yeah,
cleaning up. Yeah, that free after worker turned into like 3 o'clock in the mornings coming home
yeah,
stumbling. Um,
yeah, yeah. So
so yeah, it's
I knew that wouldn't have helped.
right,
So,
right on. Well,
but
that's good. That's good, man. Like, so the theme I'm seeing is, or hearing with you and with me, and with a lot of the Facebook groups that I'm a part of now, on the NA side, metal detecting also, it's the same thing. It's a community. Support is huge. Like,
hmm,
man, like I know people do it without support, but to have that support, it makes all the difference in the world.
yeah,
That being said, like anyone listening, if you're afraid to talk to anyone around you, or you don't have the support, I mean, mostly everyone that listens to this knows me, has my number. I have a new email for this channel and this podcast, on the wagon 23 at gmail.com. Please feel free to reach out to me. I would never, ever, ever like release your name to anyone or tell anyone that you contacted me or anything. Charles, I know you said the same thing to me.
yeah,
Um, you said, dude, if you ever need anything, man, give me a call, like any freaking time of the night. And
yeah,
I'm gonna put myself out there 100% and say the same thing to anyone, any time of the night.
hmm,
As long as I wake up, I can be a pretty heavy sleeper sometimes,
yeah, yeah. I
but I
mean,
mean, that support system, it makes all the difference in the world. My wife Lindsay, I there's no way in hell I could have done it without her. I mean,
hmm,
towards the end of my drinking career, she was probably a thread away from separating from me, like giving up.
yeah,
So I can't thank the stars enough for putting whatever they put in my brain that morning 1 year ago to say, "Hey, dude, enough's enough.
yeah,
Time to heal yourself. Time to move on. I guess, time to grow up as a man, as the
yeah,
man, the potential. Time to live to the potential that I have.
yeah.
To use
Potentials.
your word, I love that word, man.
Yeah.
I
No,
even wrote it down on my notebook here.
yeah. I wanted to share it because I was actually. You ever get those moments when you're listening to something or you're watching a movie and it literally takes your breath away in
Oh
emotion?
yeah, oh yeah,
That's what happened when I was in a meeting and someone started talking about potential. It choked me up because I was
yep,
like, I was like, holy crap! I've been like not able to succeed like I know I can because I'm in this fog. You know what I mean? And
yep,
it was like a light bulb went off, and I'm like, oh, I know that I can do better than this. You know what I mean?
oh
And
yeah,
if you don't mind, I would also say to listeners that if you fall down, don't let that keep you down. You know what I mean?
oh yeah,
Because part of success, I've always told myself this too, is part of success is failure. You look at all the inventions. These inventions weren't made the first time. The success didn't come immediately.
yeah,
All things invented, all success in the world came through lots of trial and error and lots of failing, quote unquote
yep,
failing. But
yep,
you know, I've I'm not fixed today. I'm just back up on the horse and fighting even harder. You know what I mean? I
yep,
can't. I can't give up. I just got to keep going, you know. So
Yep.
don't give up. Just keep going and reach out to, whatever support you can get, and Corey's email, whatever you need to do. And
Yeah.
if you want to throw
Email,
mine
call,
in there
whatever.
too, man, go ahead. I'll be as available as I can for people.
Yeah, right on. Anyone listening that knows Charles, hook him up. You don't want me to put your email out, do you? I can put it in the notes if you want me to.
Yeah, wherever you're putting your info, you can
Okay.
put mine there
Yeah, I'll put it
too.
all in the notes. I'll put it in the show notes. You'll see it in blah 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 the
Yeah.
description. There we go. Um,
And I'll do my
I definitely
best to
appreciate that.
reach out, be available for people, because sometimes they do say, I mean, this is another true saying that I always kind of chuckled at because I didn't understand it was, they'll say, to pick up that, 1,000-pound phone. And I'm like, what the heck does that mean?
Yeah,
Well, it means it's very uncomfortable to reach out for help.
yeah,
And it's so uncomfortable that you can't pick the phone up,
yep,
not physically, but mentally.
yep.
So
That
that
huge
phone
first step.
becomes, yeah, it becomes 1,000 pounds because it's,
Yep.
at least I know for myself is I've always been the type of person that was like, man, I can do this on my own. I
Yeah,
figure out everything on my own. But this one here, I could never figure out on my own, obviously, because I drank
yeah,
for all these years and I couldn't fix myself, you know.
yep.
So I needed to reach out, and it's okay to reach out. You know what I mean?
Oh
This
yeah,
is we're here for each other. It's we gotta be able to support each other, and I don't think anyone should be doing this alone. So
yeah. I'm glad you said that's 100% with you on that one. That initial huge step, man. If you can just take it, break the ice, and let it go where it goes. Let us pick up the anxiety from you, and I mean, I'm a year in, not like I'm a professional non-drinker, but a year is a pretty long time.
oh yeah,
2 years is going to be longer. You're 3 months ahead. You'll always be ahead of me, so I'm
not
never going to
always.
catch up. Well, yeah.
one
Um,
day one day ahead of you. How about that?
there you go. There you go. But hey, I mean, I look up to you. I look ahead at where you're at, and you're only slightly ahead of me
Yeah,
in the length story or whatever you want to call it. And I look at that and I'm like, I can get there.
yeah,
And I get there and then I look at you and I'm like, oh, you're still ahead of me. I can get there.
yeah.
You're my carrot. You're my
Yeah.
carrot I'm chasing.
Um, I'll touch back on the medical side a little bit. I lost a lot of weight. Well, I was packing the calories in,
Oh, for sure.
So I lost all the beer weight. My blood pressure is better. Um, Another misconception was that I needed alcohol to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't, because I got the best nights. I mean, I still get some rough nights here and there, but I have slept better than ever since I've been sober.
Dude,
Like a
it's
deep
unreal
sleep.
how much, yeah, unreal how good a sleep I get now.
Yeah, so it does mess with all of, your chemicals in your body, your emotions, your everything, the antsiness in your body, the uncomfortableness. It's I've just felt you always say you lie to yourself and say, well, I need alcohol to go to this party. I need alcohol to sleep. You
Yeah.
create events to drink. It's like,
Oh, yeah, you really
oh,
do. You really
it's
do.
you know, my friend's uncle's birthday. I got to go drink.
Or even
Well,
as simple as how the hell am I going to mow the backyard without
oh
without a beer in my hand?
yeah. Well,
First
I
couple of
got
times doing that was awkward. I was like, well, this is weird.
I have an embarrassing mowing story if I can share it,
Yeah, please do.
um, related to drinking. So I just moved into my house, and of course I can't do anything without drinking. Mowing was a big one. I
Oh yeah.
love, and I have about 2 acres, so I got a riding mower, and you know, once I figured out a good spot for my cup holder, I was in business. I could drink and mow the lawn and everything, and I'd tie a nice little load on as I'm out there mowing and stuff. And the one day I hit it early. I was hitting it early, and it's hot out,
Oh
and
yeah.
it seems to hit you harder when you're drinking in the heat. But I'm out there. I'm doing laps around the garage, and I keep making my circles around the garage. I come back around, and I'm like, what the heck, man? Freaking grass is all tore up, and I'm like looking at my deck on the mower, thinking maybe I lost a wheel or something, and I'm
Yeah.
like, well, that's fine. So I keep going around, and I finally come back around. I'm like, now there's two ripped up strips, and I'm like, what the heck's going on here? I look back, I'm dragging my zero gravity chair behind the mower,
Oh my gosh.
because I'm
And
that,
you had no you had no
I had no
idea.
idea because I'm trashed, you know what I mean? And
Oh
I'm
man.
and I'm kind of down in a valley, and I'm like, well, now all my neighbors know, you know what I mean? Because
Oh,
they're, but those are the moments where it's like I gotta I have to remind myself of the embarrassing moments of,
yeah.
you know, because I can become complacent very easily,
Yeah. Yep.
So I gotta work on gratitude every day, and I gotta remember some of them embarrassing moments to keep me straight. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Because if I forget all the devastation that has come along with my drinking, I'll wind up doing it again too. You know,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
I try to share some of those stories and remember them myself, just because it's like it's embarrassing. You know what I mean? Like, if I was a neighbor up on the hill looking down, watching this guy dragging his lawn chair around, I'd be like,
Yeah.
man, he's obviously,
Yeah, what the hell's this guy's deal?
crooked lines in the grass.
Oh yeah.
Um, your lines become a lot straighter when you're not drinking, when you're mowing grass too. So
I appreciate mowing grass now, like to no end. I look at my yard, I'm like, damn, it looks really good. Like you take
yeah,
pride in it now. Like
yeah,
before it was just a chore so I could go out and drink. Now it's like I'm like an old man. I'm a 43-year-old old man. Like get off my lawn, old. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, and that's okay because I take pride in it. So um,
Speaking of lawns too, made me think about this as well. Like, I'm a nature guy. I like being out in nature and stuff. And as I sobered up, I could smell things better. Like
yeah, dude.
I'll be out in the woods, and it's like you can smell, and I'm noticing things more. You know what I mean? Because it's
Yeah,
like, again, I'm gonna jump back to the fog. Is now I walk around my property, and I'm noticing like all these beautiful birds in the trees and
yeah,
all this stuff that really at the time wasn't important to me. You know what
yeah,
I mean? It was
yeah.
like all I cared about was drinking,
Yep, yep.
and I would take care of the bare minimum in my life, you know. And you miss out on all the beauty that this world actually has when you really take a good look and you're clear-headed. You look around at all the sounds and the wildlife and wherever you live, just the beauty. Even if you live in a city, you can look up. There's the sky. It's a blue, beautiful sky right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Sometimes you don't see that when you're in that ball of drinking.
You really don't. As you know, I bought a drone, and speaking of beauty and nature and all that, started like just flying and taking pictures of sunsets. Like I'd
Hmm.
look like, oh my god, look at that! I get my drone real quick, go up and fly it, and like I'm in awe at my pictures. I'm sure they're super amateurish to anyone else that knows what the hell they're doing, but to me, I'm like, dude, look at this. Like I even put them
Yeah.
on my Facebook. Like guys, check this out. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a whole new outlook on everything. It
I
really
never.
is.
Yeah, I never thought I would look at it life like that, but that's kind of where it's headed. Like it's you know I'm just more aware of the details around you know out in the
Yeah,
world. So
yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
yeah, it's awesome. But yeah, I'm just really thankful to be here. I'm grateful to be here and able to talk about some things, and hopefully it helps some people that are listening.
Yeah,
You
I'm
know,
very grateful that you could come on here and tell some of your story and just chat for, well, it looks like an hour now.
yeah,
That's awesome, man. I definitely appreciate it. And I mean, I, like I said, I've looked up to you. Once I found out you don't drink, also, I kind of emulated some of the things that you would do, and watching your Keystone History Hoarders. By the way, that's his metal detecting group, Keystone History Hoarders. Check him out on YouTube. Check
thank
him
you.
out on Facebook. Definitely cool hobby to get into. So one, I was following you for metal detecting stuff, looking at what you were doing, kind of learning off you there. I'm now learning off you in this new world of no alcohol. It's just awesome, dude. I appreciate everything you do, man, and thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, that's that means a lot, really
For
does.
sure. Awesome.
And thanks for having me on here, and I appreciate it. You have a Merry Christmas and a
Yeah, Merry
Happy New
Christmas,
Year,
brother.
everybody. Um,
Yes, yes, indeed.
and be grateful. Just be grateful for today, what you have. You know what I mean?
Yep, couldn't say it any better.
Thanks, Corey.
All right, thank you, man. I'll talk to you soon. If you can hang out for a minute once I hit stop, and
Sure.
we'll go from there.
All
All
right.
right,
Have a good
goodbye,
one.
everybody. Stay gold.